Hello everyone and welcome. My name is Simon and we are the Whales of Wall Street. Today we are going through Ripple's XRP. Before we go into the chart, we will just do a quick overview of some updates that have come out in the last week or so. Guys, XRP has a lot of money behind it and a lot of whales, and there's a lot of activity. Let's dive into a couple bits and pieces. So 82 million XRP has been moved accordingly to various exchanges, various wallets over the last 24 hours. $88.8 million is quite a lot of monetary value there. So just to put people's minds at ease, this has gone to a couple of exchanges. More importantly, I want to pull out. So these are on-demand liquidity partners, okay, in Mexico and Latin America, sorry. So 20 million of that has gone there. And this emphasizes how massive XRP will be, because there's a lot of money going to these exchanges ready for liquidity in terms of what's potentially going to happen. But not just short term, over this SEC nonsense, but also the long term in terms of what Ripple and XRP is actually going to be doing and what is it capable of doing. This is where it's of interest because money is flying left, right and center on a daily basis with this particular asset. And it is absolutely phenomenal. Similar numbers, of course, around the other ones like XLM, which we'll cover in another video later today, of course. But yeah, there's a lot of money flying about. And you can follow Whale Alert. They do take it out from transactional information. So do keep an eye on that if you want to know more about other assets that are going in and out through exchanges, through wallets in a particular big fashion. It always sometimes indicates some kind of movement in the chart, or at least to confirm that perhaps one kind of exchange is taking on board. 50 million XRP was transferred between anonymous wallets. Anonymous. Okay, so that's pretty mental. Imagine having that much XRP. I have a fair amount, I'm not going to lie, so does Steve, but 50 million. Could you imagine having that much money? It's definitely got to be some crazy whales out there. So I just thought I'd bring those bits of information to attention. So that kind of covers around 70, and then of course 10 million is this bit here, Bitstamp. So that's taken us over that 80 million mark. So the Bitstamp exchange on-demand liquidity for Luxembourg. Guys, Ripple XRP is global. The only problem at the moment, and we'll go into that right now, is the US. The US are doing something, okay? There's no doubt in my mind with the way the world is going, with everyone now waking up to a lot of things that are going on and have been going on for centuries or decades. Guys, they are stopping something, because for me personally, I believe there's a bigger picture here. I feel there's a big, massive influx coming over from the Asian market, especially in China, with the digital yuan. This digital yuan, by the way, is already in testing, and I know a lot of people in China. Great people, love them, and they've been telling me about the testing program, and that you can utilize it in airports. Only certain people can. Like I can't remember how many, but it's just under 1 million, I think. So it's not for the whole population yet, but they're very much at the end stage of their testing program, right? And they have, I think I did some research the other day, $5.3 billion in transactions, okay, already in this period of time. So that's, obviously not including this month as well. But I think there's a use case for it to be used as a test program in the Olympics in winter. But yeah, this whole Bank of China, the People's Bank of China, is very much flying on this, and I'm trying to figure out in the background. Let us know in the comments below what you think is actually going on with this SEC. Like, forget the lawsuit, forget that SEC are just trying to get a load of money out of something that's going to be so big. It's kind of like their tax situation of getting a load of money before something kicks off. I mean, we saw something similar with the King coin a few years back in a similar aspect of security, and then they lost that, and I think the token rose something like 1,400% in like one day. It was mental. So that could potentially happen, and that would take XRP over a $20 price. Do you know what I mean? Like in a short space of time. But back to the point, I feel like the US is almost purposely allowing other countries to almost like whether catch up or get to a better level as quickly as they can before the US does something. Now, this could be very much related to CBDCs. Maybe they're protecting their USD, their US digital dollar. You just don't know. There's something amiss here, because and as we see in these articles, obviously sometimes you take them with a pinch of salt, but of course everywhere around the world is taking on XRP as a bridging platform, as an interoperability platform, as liquidity. It's chaos. Like, there's so much going on with Ripple across the world, and you're sitting there and you're going, why is the US doing this to themselves? And the only thing you could come up with is something in the background is going on that we're not seeing or hearing from these court cases and lawsuits, that actually maybe there's been a bit of a play here from both parties as to something else going on. Maybe the US are protecting the reserve currency that they've got because of the threat from the east side of the world. And that's what it's about. The US dollar has been the reserve currency for however long, 100 years maybe? Obviously backed with gold. Now Bitcoin's come in, arguably a digital gold, storage of value, 100%. And now Ripple's stuck here with a lawsuit, and it makes no sense. The only thing they can try to pull up is some discrepancies from a few years ago and some communication patterns. But the Ripple have firmly in multiple media outlets now, and especially in the last week or so, said they have no intention at all of settling the lawsuit. And that's this point here. Ripple's legal team tells Fox Business no considering a settlement with the SEC. Okay, they're even filing motions to protect 13 documents in the case from the public. Now, there's some things you say, why are you hiding stuff, or why there's obviously protection elements and this and that. I'm not a lawyer, and I know there's a couple of YouTubers out there that are following this very closely, more so than I am. I'm just taking a seat back sometimes because I'm like, do you know what will be, and of course you have a keen eye on it in the background, because if you are holding XRP, of course it makes a difference. I was fortunate to get XRP earlier in the year in December or November, when it was something like 10 cents, maybe just less, I can't remember. And already the growth has been phenomenal. I know what it's going to be in the future, and even in the short term, whether they win or lose, there'll be a very quick massive rise. But in more importantly is the actual relative price, floating maybe around that $4 or $5 easily, maybe even a bit higher. So there's loads to be excited about, irrespective of this lawsuit. But it just feels like there's something bigger. Do you know what I mean? It's like, with like you've got like Agenda 30 and stuff like this that I talk about a lot, and maybe that's that side of being skeptical about everything. But I just feel like it makes no sense for the US to block something that would make them thrive in the financial world. And I do believe it's to do with a protection of their US asset being a reserve currency, because if they lose that, and we know the US dollar has been diminishing certainly since the 70s. If you go and do your history research around gold in the 1920s, 1930s, of how people were scammed out of having to give their gold back to the governments, and if you didn't, you get fined like $10,000 or something. That was the beginning of the catalyst. And in the 70s, Nixon started unpairing things like backing of gold, and it just started diminishing the dollar, all for the sake of pocketing for the big rich banks and the big rich families like the Rockefellers, the Rothschilds, and all these people, and squirreling away the gold for a better day, as it were. But that's coming to an end. I think that's why they're protecting it. I think they're protecting it because they're realizing that their power is diminishing, and there is, of course, they want to protect that, but I think this is too powerful. I think the people behind it worldwide are too powerful, and everyone else is catching up. Everyone's going to be bridging. Everyone's going to be on digital currencies, and the US is sitting there messing about. Same with the UK here. It's so slow, and too misguided, because people, and I know for a fact that people in the government, like personally, are just non-existent in terms of knowledge. I've even sat in things where people in government are like, yeah, so could you explain like internet, please? Could you explain the Internet of Things? And it's like, what? And these people are running your country? No. Ripple is going to be a powerhouse for the world, and it is doing its thing across the borders. Guys, I really want to know in the comments below what you think is actually going on, okay? And maybe there's some experts out there. I want to hear everyone's opinions. No one is right or wrong. Just your take on it, your historic take on it, and your thoughts around, is there something bigger than just a lawsuit and some money? Let me know. Guys, on that note, let's go into the chart where I've done a few elements. Please like this video if you find it informative. Subscribe to the channel if you've not done so already, and that notification bell to ensure you get notified of all the awesome videos coming away. So let's go into this. I was looking at the King coin earlier, just as a bit of research. So this is on the weekly. We've had that right shoulder way back here towards the beginning of the year, and I feel that we're now on our way. This is the weekly performance. Certainly in the last few months it has been progressive. You look at the chart and you go, oh, it's depressing in that daily one. So I thought I'd bring it out to the week just to show you the great progress that XRP has had irrespective of this SEC. Why have I drawn a circle down here? The reason I've drawn this, we'll go into more detail on the daily in a second, but we're at a critical stage here around this sort of $109 mark, where we really need to try and close above that. If we don't, I might see a gradual reduction down to that argument of around 80 cents or just below. I always believe that it goes slightly below a particular fib line kind of thing. So I've drawn in this yellow line, which we actually put in previously, if you remember, as a target because of this kind of area along here. So we haven't tested this area for like, what, a month now? So I can't believe like 3rd week of September already. So there is a possibility that if we don't obtain this support level, in my opinion, we may come down to this area or just around this area. So just bear that in mind. Like, I don't want to keep doing hype videos and this and the other. I want to be realistic that there's two options here, and that's obviously correct. Like, it could go up, it could go down. It's the whole psychological same thing with any chart, right? But what's more important is obtaining when or if and how that will come down. So we've got this mechanism yesterday of a close at 102. So sorry, 108. Sorry, in yesterday's number, which will go into the daily. But at the moment, it's currently staggering around that 108 mark. So we need it to do a bit more today, so that we can continue this momentum and push up over the next couple of weeks to that sort of nice mark up here where we saw previously over that 140. And we'll go into that in detail in a second, but I just wanted to pan out, showing you that this is definitely progressing in the correct manner. Even if it does correct, that's not a bad thing. It just means that we definitely confirm this kind of support area before we can really push up across maybe towards the end of October into November and finishing that big bull run with obscene moves for XRP, irrespective of the lawsuit. On the weekly, the MACD is currently narrowing still, so that's why I'm mentioning that we are in a critical stage to try and stop that from narrowing further. And if we do, we might get a switch over back into this area. There is a cooling off on the weekly as well on the histogram, suggesting that the volume of uptake into the bullish momentum is cooling off. So just bear that in mind. Let's go into the daily while we're on that point, and we'll just have a look at that. Let's make this look a bit nicer. And then also pull that, there we go. So again, showing you the great moves that we've had, certainly since that sort of June time, and especially that July time when we had the full confirmation of the switchover on multiple assets. And actually in this time, just so we're clear, if I just draw this in quickly so that you guys can see this, I always get the wrong one, there it is. I had it on automatically. So we've actually risen from that point on the 20th of July up to this recent partial high time of 173% gain. So that's really cool considering the lawsuit aspect. This is where the circle is I drew on the 1 weekly, and emphasizing here on this MACD, I'm just going to zoom in here, that we had this big gap widening, and it perhaps made a false pretense that we might be zooming out, and I know there's a lot of videos out there suggesting but we are having a bit of a narrowing. and on there. However, on the daily, it's a slightly different story. So what I would say is the volumes are slowing down in terms of that selling movement. Okay, so that doesn't mean it's over, because you can see here clearly that happened round back here as well, and we had a nice green day, and then it absolutely flopped again. So just please bear that in mind as a caution perspective. One thing here I wanted to mention, so when we are at this critical point, we closed yesterday, as I mentioned, around 107. So we need to get that 109 aspect, in my opinion, over the next 24 hours to ensure that we start pushing up. And I believe there's a good 20 odd % growth pattern that we could do over the next couple of weeks if we obtain this number. But if we start falling below that and start going back to this sort of 106 level again, which is actually identified right here along the way as a good mechanism of support, if we break that down and it just can't get that momentum upwards, that's when I believe that we might start testing this area down here. Not immediately, but over a gradual period of time. And then the chart will look a nice flowing move before we start shooting up. So this is why I'm saying it's critical in the next 24 hours as to where we are going. So put two strategies in your mind. Again, it's not financial advice, of course, but do put two strategies in your mind of, okay, if we think it's going up, fantastic. Obviously, you may have accumulated, but also, if you are holding bags from the previous sell-offs, that could be an opportunity of a buy-in potentially. So I always want to cover both aspects. I don't want to just do charts when it's all going hunky-dory. It's really important to observe two elements of that. So guys, let us know in the comments below what you think is going to happen. Let us know your price predictions for XRP as well. I just want to bring up the performance indicators on the right hand side here. Year to date, 392% up, which is fantastic. 6 months is looking healthy as well, including that is the dip as well that we had from a few months back. The only thing is bad is the last month and the week. But like I said, that monthly is slightly slowing down, but I want to see that MACD. I want to see that MACD narrowing even more and a nice switch over. That's why I say the next 24 hours or certainly the next couple of days are really important to identify where this is going. What we don't want to see is another big gap here like that. And to be fair, one of those days, which was probably that one, was enhanced by Bitcoin. But equally, aside from Bitcoin, it's probably overdue anyway, just because really you had a nice little J pattern here. But arguably since this point, we've had a parabolic run for XRP, and there was signals here anyway that there should have been some kind of correction. So we've had that, and that's where I think we're at this stable point, and it's just a question now of which battle is going to win over these next 48 hours. So keep that in mind, guys. Everyone is waiting with anticipation, but you might start seeing maybe that 140 mark being broken again in the next couple of weeks. So I do anticipate perhaps end of September, beginning of October kind of period, we may be back up there again, irrespective. Okay, so thank you very much for watching. We'll wrap that up there. We'll see you guys in the next video. Bye bye.